You're listening to the Culips English podcast. To download the study guide for this episode, which includes the transcript, detailed vocabulary explanations, real-world examples, and a quiz, visit our website, culips.com. Culips.com. Hey everybody, my name is Andrew.
And my name is Morag.
And you're listening to Culips. Hey Morag.
Hey Andrew.
How's it going? What's new?
Oh man, I just had a real disappointment last night.
A real disappointment? Oh no, what happened?
I've been finding myself going down a particular YouTube hole where I've been watching people disassemble and fix and clean old Nintendo systems.
Very geeky. I love it.
Yes, I am a very nerdy person. So, but I have a Nintendo 3DS that I've had for almost 10 years, and the thumbstick broke off of it.
Okay. What is the thumbstick? It's like the joystick?
Yeah, there's one joystick on it, and that's it's used to move your character or move around in pretty much every game. So it's kind of totally useless without it, but it broke, and I found out that you can replace them pretty easily. I bought a bunch of very specific tiny screwdrivers and a replacement for it, and I was so excited yesterday to go home and open up my Nintendo DS and like get in there and like switch stuff out and deal with little ribbon cables, and I was like, ooh, this is gonna be so much fun. And then I stripped a screw because I forgot what left and right were.
Oh shoot,
I got them backwards. So now I have a completely stripped screw that I have no idea if I'm ever going to be able to get it out of there. All because I was watching too much YouTube and just wanted to be like the guys in the video.
I think there is a product that you can apply to screws that will help you take them out of the material that they're stuck in, but I don't know if that works for electronics. I think it's more for building something with like wood and metal. So you might be out of luck.
No, there's things you can do. It's just going to become increasingly more dangerous, going all the way up to drilling into the screw, where you're dealing with like sensitive electronics with a giant drill. It's well, I can update you later. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, give us an update next time we talk and let us know if you're able to rescue your 3DS, and I'll keep my fingers crossed for you.
Why, thank you.
So Morag, the topic of today's Chatterbox episode is advertising, and more specifically, we're going to talk about the question, how susceptible are you to advertising? But just before we discuss that question, I want to let everyone know that there is a study guide for this episode. It's available on our website, culips.com, and we specifically designed it to help you make the most out of this episode. So if you'd like to check it out, just visit the website and give it a download. Okay, Morag, so before we tackle this question, how susceptible are you to advertising, I thought it might be cool to brainstorm some of the places that we see ads. Now, I know ads are like all around us, right? You can walk outside of your apartment and see a billboard, or take a look in your mailbox and you'll have a flyer. But just off the top of your head, where do you think that you see the most ads in your daily life?
Google search results.
Google search results. Okay.
100%. Because the top 3, sometimes to 4 search results are always paid advertisements. So, and they look almost identical to regular results. My job depends almost entirely on my Google Foo. So like I'm doing that constantly. So I definitely see the most ads on Google.
Okay, yeah, Google. Definitely for me, I was also going to answer the internet. And these days I feel like I see a lot of ads on Instagram.
Way more than before.
Way, way more than before. Suddenly they just perhaps change their advertising algorithm or something, because I'm getting like double the amount of ads that I used to see. On my computer, actually, I have an ad blocker installed, so I don't see too many advertisements like on YouTube or on websites. The ad blocker is pretty good at covering most of those up. But definitely Google search results too can be really frustrating sometimes. Like recently I've been traveling a lot, so I'm doing travel related Google searches, which are just a nightmare because Google's just trying to sell you tickets. Like I was in Spain, so I'd Google something for Spain and I'd get like cheap flights to Spain. But I'm like, I'm already here. I don't need, this is irrelevant to what I'm looking for. So yeah, those ads can be somewhat annoying sometimes.
A lot of the tricky ads are the ones that are masquerading as something else. So like the Google search results or the Instagram posts. I sometimes won't notice that an Instagram ad is an ad for a couple seconds.
Totally. They're really well designed and targeted to be effective like that, right? So let's get back to our main question then. In your opinion, how susceptible are you to advertising?
Okay, so I would love to say not at all, because if I am aware of a piece of advertising, I will usually discount what has been advertised for because I'm frustrated with advertising. However, I'm also perfectly aware that that's not how advertising works. It's not about making you make the conscious decision to purchase something because you've seen an ad. It's about brand recognition. And across the board, statistically, it has very much been proven that if you have already seen something like a brand before, you are vastly more likely to pick it no matter what your feelings are on its advertisement or even just the brand in general. If you have a choice between something that you recognize and something that you don't recognize, human beings will choose the thing that they recognize. So I do not think I am immune to this, and therefore am probably highly susceptible to the end goal of most advertising.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. And, I'm not an impulse shopper very often. Like I won't see an ad on the internet and then right away click through and buy it. That doesn't happen very often. But I do think that these internet ads are kind of planting a seed, right? Slowly getting me used to their brand or used to the image of the brand. And then I do think that it's right that when I go to shop, I might be much more likely to buy that product because just as you explained, I'm familiar with it. I've seen it before. I've interacted with the product online to some extent. And so in that regard, I'm probably more susceptible to advertising than I would ever like to admit.
I think that's probably the case for most people, unfortunately. There's also an interesting feedback loop that I think happens specifically with social media advertising, where I'm not sure if something becomes popular and then people advertise about things that are similar, or so many people are being advertised to about the same kind of thing that it becomes popular. I'm specifically thinking about this one eyeglasses brand that I get ads for constantly.
Okay.
And the images in these ads, the girls wearing these glasses look like every girl on Instagram wearing a pair of glasses. Like, it's all the same style. And I'm not sure if the brand came first or if that style came first, but I all of a sudden kind of like the way those glasses look because I'm seeing them all the time.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, from that brand's perspective, they would probably be really stoked if they created the trend and then everybody emulated it.
Mm-hmm. It's probably a combination.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a feedback loop of you see one person that's doing something cool and then somebody else tries to do it and then a brand does it. Then you see that thing that you thought was cool a million times and then more people do it. And next thing you know, you have that and you're like, I just want to look cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find that more than ever, I'm doing something that I never thought I would do, and it honestly makes my stomach a little bit sick to think about it. That is that I do interact with some brands. For example, I follow a lot of runners on Instagram and different running events and different running related pages, and almost all of the top athletes that I follow are sponsored by numerous different sporting companies. And as a result, I check out those sporting companies' pages to see more information about the athletes that they sponsor, because a lot of times they have kind of, mini documentaries or exclusive content related to that athlete. And so then I end up following these brand pages, and then I get targeted ads based on the things that I've seen on those pages. So if I looked at a specific pair of shoes, well, next thing you know, I'm getting a ton of ads for those shoes. So it's like I'm willingly signing myself up to eventually buy this product. It's really strange.
It's a brilliant system that they've set up of reinforcing the desire for certain things or the validity of certain choices. It's hard not to get into these loops though, because I do the same thing with certain like Instagrammers or just like influencers with clothing brands and that kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh man, that outfit's amazing. I'm gonna go look at. Then they're like sponsored by and linked to that brand. And then I'm like, oh, I'll follow them for like styling ideas and stuff. And then I get advertisements from them. And then it's just that same feedback loop where it's like, oh man, next time I'm probably going to end up buying some of that, I guess. Like, okay. I think I don't think that there's anything necessarily evil about this or like bad. It's a new advertising paradigm that I'm hoping that younger people are already aware of by virtue of growing up in it. But I think for people a little bit older, we were used to and pretty good at dealing with a different strategy of advertising. And then this thing, social media, grew up that was, it felt like natural and slowly became an advertising platform. It takes more conscious effort, at least on my part, to dispense with the influence of these ads versus a billboard, which I don't even look at.
Yeah.
Well,
it was funny. I was back in Canada for a couple weeks last month, and when I was watching TV, I was laughing at the commercials and how ridiculous they seemed. Like, I haven't watched Canadian TV for so long that when I was doing it, the ads just seemed, it was like almost like culture shock how wacky they were. And I was like, does anybody buy something because they saw an ad on TV? Like, it's totally, our generation is not susceptible to TV advertising at all, I think, but definitely internet advertising can be quite effective.
Yeah, I think there's except for the thing that I spoke about earlier where it's the recognition thing, I think that works on every type, even a billboard, even if you don't really look at it. But the more direct and immediate forms of susceptibility to advertising, like you see a thing and you buy it. I think we're definitely, internet advertising and such, especially social media stuff, can work way better on us. I try to make a conscious effort to not give into that stuff. I try as much as possible to buy used clothing or clothing that's locally made or designed and that kind of stuff. But then that gets annoyingly expensive, and sometimes you just want something cute that you saw on Instagram.
Well, even these small local companies can place ads and target the specific demographic of people that they want to hit and advertise to. So, I mean, it can kind of work out good for some of these small local companies as well.
Exactly. Businesses doing well isn't inherently bad. And having brand recognition through advertising is often one of the main ways that businesses can do that. So I guess it comes down to the philosophy and morals of the business then. Oof, and then you need to look up every single business that you want to potentially... Oh, that's too much.
Overload, information overload.
Yeah. I wish I had enough time.
Morag, I've got one last quick question for you before we leave, because I know we've talked about conspiracy theories before, and they're kind of fun to think about.
Yeah.
But I've heard a conspiracy theory that goes that Google and Apple are allowing advertisers to listen to what we say via the microphones that are in our phones, and then they can use this audio that they've tapped into to provide us with targeted ads. Do you think there's any validity to this idea at all?
There actually is validity to that idea, and it's been proven recently through an Alexa issue where you can, in Europe, you can ask for all of the documentation that Amazon has on you, period, including audio logs. And if you have an Alexa, it is constantly recording. Right. If it hears any sound. And it's doing that because it's okay. So back up. If you have a device where you can activate it via a voice command, it fundamentally has to be listening at all times, because otherwise it couldn't hear your voice command to activate it. This is not necessarily bad. In fact, a lot of times it can be used to make voice recognition better. If they have you speaking, the more they can parse it. It's a lot of really good data. But the other thing is that it's not like they're selling that information necessarily to brands. It's that Google itself is the advertiser. So is Amazon. So they have the data. And they can potentially, if they want to, look for keywords and then serve you the same ad.
Right, based upon what it detected in your speech.
Yeah. It's not a large conspiracy theory where it's like Google's selling this to this person or whatever. They have their own advertising platforms, and then they know what you just said.
Wow, it's interesting. I don't know how I feel about that, but luckily I don't have an Alexa. I do have a Siri though, so she might be listening to me right now. Oh,
Siri is definitely... Can you say hello or hey Siri and she'll wake up?
Yep, let me try. Hey Siri. It woke up.
Yep. So I personally have everything like that disabled. Across the board.
Very smart, I think.
Yeah. But because you have buttons to put these on if you want to.
Sure. I just lose my phone so often that it's actually
you yell,
very
"Hey Siri,"
nice to say like, "Hey Siri, turn on the flashlight," and then I can figure out where my phone is.
Well, the main thing is that I think that the main sort of conspiracy theory portion of that is that that they'll use this for nefarious purposes or something, or it's not really all that nefarious. It's just you're giving them data to make voice recognition better.
Right, which is something that I would love to see.
Exactly.
Actually.
There's some privacy concerns with that, but it's also, if you think about the number of people that have these things on and the number of things that they're tracking, like
There's probably nobody on the Amazon side that's snooping through your specific data just to see what's up in your life. Like, it's just an overwhelming amount of data that's coming in, right?
yeah, an overwhelming amount of data that's helpful for machines and not so much for people. I mean, that whole thing of you realize that you had a stain on your shirt all day and you're like, oh my God, everyone will have noticed. What if everybody noticed? What do they think of me now? The answer is no one cares. No one noticed. Even if they did, fundamentally you care the most about you. So if you're in this giant sea of data, nobody cares. They're not looking for you, or at least that's what I tell myself.
Yeah. That's a good way to rationalize it. I like it.
Yep.
Well, Morag, we covered a lot of ground here today. That was a really interesting chat.
I had fun.
Cool. But I think we'll leave it at that for today. Just before we go, though, I do want to remind everybody about our study guide. Sorry, this is my little ad. So our study guide is available on our website, culips.com. If you'd like to check it out, just visit the website and you can do that. I have a great idea. How about you send us an email and let us know your opinion about how susceptible you are to advertising. And I know each country has kind of a different internet infrastructure. So maybe the way that the internet works in your country is different than how it works for Morag and I. And maybe advertisements are delivered differently as well. So feel free to share your opinion with us. You can send your email to contact@culips.com and we would be very happy to read any messages that you may send us. And finally, we are all over social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, you name it, and we're there. Just search for the Culips English podcast to connect with us on social media and learn more about what we do. That's it for us. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.
Goodbye.